This article is from thatparkplace.com. Report Disney's Star Wars movies have not recouped the cost of purchasing Lucasfilm at the box office. A new report details that the Walt Disney Company has failed to recoup the purchase price of Lucasfilm from its various Star Wars and Indiana Jones films. The article is linked for you to read below. Now, I think it goes without saying at this point a huge cross-section of die-hard Star Wars fans have not been too happy with the Disney take on Star Wars. Now, possibly not immediately after The Force Awakens, because that film was reasonably well received. I don't think it was great, but it wasn't awful. It was essentially a rehash of A New Hope. But certainly there were concerns at the time with just how Mary Sue Rey was, how poorly Han Solo's death was handled, and the fact that the original three primary characters of Han, Luke and Leia never got on screen together. But anyway, putting all that aside, the film wasn't bad. But for the second film in the sequel trilogy, they needed something much, much better. And we didn't get that with The Last Jedi. We got a step back. Force Awakens made $2 billion at the box office worldwide, and I think it benefited from being the first one in the trilogy and marketing itself as having the original characters appear in it. But Last Jedi was poor and it made only $1,334 million at the box office, a decrease of almost $700 million. And then there was The Rise of Skywalker, the third and final film in the trilogy. It made $1,077 million. These figures are from boxofficemojo.com. Now that's a further decrease of about $250 million. And that's obviously a drop-off of over $1 billion from The Force Awakens. And I just couldn't take to the character of Rey. I just felt that she was a feminist Mary Sue. She didn't have particularly interesting character development. Everything seemed to come easy to her. She didn't really have to try very hard to master the Force and so forth. And so the conclusion of her story just didn't really feel earned or satisfying. And then if you look at Rogue One, which came out in 2016 after Force Awakens, I think it was generally a decent enough film, despite the fact that I felt the main character, Jyn Erso, she was very dull, broody and sullen as a protagonist with no real personality. And that being said, the film is well put together and enjoyable nonetheless. I don't have too many complaints about Rogue One. The film made $1 billion at the box office and was generally very well received. But then you throw in something like Solo, A Star Wars Story. From a $275 million budget, it made only $392 million. It was not successful. I didn't like that film very much at all, and I feel that the character of Han Solo was a bit beta. He's a bit emasculated in that movie. Probably one of the strongest Star Wars productions that's been produced in recent years has been the TV series The Mandalorian. Some of the other shows have been poor to mid. The Acolyte trailer does not look promising. So Star Wars is not in a great place. How do you mess up such a great franchise like that? And of course, Lucasfilm does include the Indiana Jones franchise also. It goes without saying that their efforts with Dial of Destiny were another massive failure. The film made almost $384 million worldwide from a gargantuan budget of something like $387 million, a massive disaster. There was another huge loss for Disney when it came to Star Wars. And this time it wasn't a film or a TV show, it was a particular attraction in a theme park. I am, of course, talking about Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser at Disney World in Florida. It was a Star Wars themed hotel, specifically one that was meant to be a spaceship. Guests were supposed to get the feel that they were on a galactic cruise in the Star Wars universe. It was a 2-night experience. You had to stay for 2 nights, basically, and it cost a whopping $4,800 for 2 people. It was fully interactive and immersive, and you were staying in a hotel, but all around you, there was this story going on, with actors in costume playing Star Wars characters. And you would go on a mission to further the story, and there was lightsaber training and fights and stuff like that. But you were basically inside a largely windowless facility for 2 days. The basic room was also quite small, although there were suites which were larger, and there's no window. There's just a display that was supposed to be like a window looking into space. I personally find that experience very claustrophobic and kind of cabin feverish. Like I'm kind of cut off from reality. I don't like that. There was a room called a climate simulator, which was basically just an outside area where you can get some fresh air and some sunlight. But the in-universe explanation was that this outside area was actually a simulator. So the ship you're on, incidentally, is called the Halcyon. Now, most reviews described how the staff, specifically the actors, really made the experience. They were the best part of the whole thing. But there was only one main storyline, and so there wasn't enough there to really generate repeat visitors. And it was also extremely expensive. And I'm not impressed with the bedrooms at all here. So these are some photographs from the Star Wars Galactic Cruiser Wikipedia page, linked below. It's been said that the bedrooms sort of look like a kind of cross between a fancy mobile home and a minimum security prison. I mean, the idea that you're in this Star Wars hotel and there's an ongoing story and you're part of it and you have a role to play and you're pretending that you're really on a spaceship in space. I mean, there's something immensely cringe about that. And everyone, including the staff, are having to go along with this. I mean, I could see how this could create some sort of awkwardness, you know? And just imagine the guests who don't take it very seriously. You just feel sorry for the actors trying their hardest. Apparently, downtime was also kind of minimal. So it doesn't sound like it was all that relaxing as a stay in a hotel. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, as you're no doubt aware, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel opened in March of 2022 and closed in September of 2023. It was underperforming, it just wasn't doing the business. It cost over $300 million to build, and it was extremely expensive to stay there. So people were complaining that you were paying big money for 2 nights, the kind of money you would spend on a really high-end luxury hotel, but you weren't getting a luxury experience. Anyway, Lucasfilm franchises, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, they haven't exactly been best served under Disney, in my opinion. With few exceptions, it's been a lot of financial losses. And now, we see that the Star Wars films have not enabled Disney to recoup the cost of buying Lucasfilm. As the article That Park Place points out, back in 2012, the Walt Disney Company announced it was purchasing Lucasfilm from George Lucas for $4.05 billion, with Disney paying approximately half of the consideration in cash and issuing approximately 40 million shares at closing. The Disney-owned Lucasfilm would produce a number of films, including their sequel trilogy, that would initially make a huge splash at the box office, but over time saw huge declines. The article goes on to talk about how much the Star Wars movies have made at the box office. All combined, the total box office gross is around $5.9 billion. However, that box office gross does not factor in the costs that Disney incurred to make all those films, nor does it factor in marketing costs or the cut that theaters take of the box office grosses. Caroline Reed at Forbes has not only crunched some of the numbers, but she's also provided production budget information for these films and concludes that the films have not recovered the cost to purchase Lucasfilm. Once again, it is worth underlining the fact that Disney has owned Lucasfilm for 12 years. Anyway guys, that about does it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, share this video. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.